Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is Cormac Russell and I'm the Managing Director of Nurture Development. I'm also a faculty member of the Asset-Based Community Development Institute. Nurture Development is based in Kenya and also has a base in Europe. And I'm taking this opportunity to address you to give you a sense of what it is I believe Nurture Development and indeed the Asset-Based Community Development approach might have to offer to South Sudan and indeed to the government of South Sudan as it moves forward towards independence. A little bit on the background of Nurture Development I think is worthwhile offering at this point. Nurture Development and indeed the ABCD Institute work in partnership together throughout the world, and we have worked in South Sudan, we have worked in Kenya, we've worked in Canada, and indeed throughout North America, it has to be said, and throughout Europe. We do extensive work in the UK, particularly on the areas of health and on the areas of local government. And I'm going to speak in a few moments about what I think it is we can offer in that context. Also, I think it's important to say a word or two about some of the work that we've done specifically in Africa. And in that regard, we are particularly proud of the work that we have been involved in Lake State in South Sudan. We started that work in 2009, and that project is now ongoing and will be ongoing for the next 4 years. The project involved bringing local government, NGOs and citizens, villagers, senior elders, leaders from various villages throughout the Lake State region to begin to think about drought mitigation in a different kind of way, to think about how drought mitigation could be addressed through the assets and the strengths of NGOs, government and people working together in real partnership. That piece of work continues. It's at an early stage, but already the signs are very encouraging and suggest in a very real way that the kind of change that we like to see, the transformative change, will occur. A project that we've been involved in for much longer is a project in Turkana and Pokot in rural Kenya. And that project started out similar to the South Sudanese project as a project to look at how we could address drought and look at mitigation initiatives around drought. It has evolved over the last 2 years, and the project now is much more about building peace and building prosperity. We're happy to report that in Pokot and Turkana now the beginnings of peace are emerging in very real terms. Peace agreements are evident throughout Pokot and Turkana, and there are several very good examples of peace agreements that are being negotiated in a very different way to how they've been negotiated in times past. They're being negotiated by people themselves, and in that way they're looking towards a much more sustainable peace and non-violent future. A future that's based on prosperity and based on building on the assets that they have. Our work in Europe, particularly in the United Kingdom, has involved a focus on working with local governments to advise them how they can strengthen their governments and also work more closely at neighbourhood level or at village level to ensure that villages are actually working with local government to sustain their own villages, both in terms of health, education, agricultural and local development terms. It's really important, as you'll see in the slideshow, that we figure out a way of creating structures that allow local people, citizens and communities to do what they do best, while also ensuring that government does what it does best. So that kind of partnership is what we have very strong specialism in. And we have examples in the UK, in Ireland, in Canada, and in different parts of Europe. We also have very strong examples, I think, beginning to emerge in the African context as well. Policies, obviously issues around security, markets and infrastructure are areas of key concern as a country develops towards independence and sustainability. These are areas, no doubt, of concern not alone to you as government officials and as people at policy level who are effectively thought leaders and future visionaries. Your vision is obviously a vision that's not just informed by a move towards self-determination, but also informed by the fact that inward investment is important. Getting structures and policies, getting markets that are open and can trade outside of South Sudan is obviously a key aspiration going forward. And indeed, in terms of inward investment, creating those structures allows you to pitch for significant monies, particularly from the United States. Again, I think a key contribution that Nurture Development can make to South Sudan and to the government is to support those structures and to support the strategies and practice around how those structures can be created and can be developed going forward. One of the areas that I think perhaps will receive attention going forward is the area of decentralization and looking at how good, strong local government can be created. We already have experience of beginning that process in Lake State. The other 9 states, which may indeed have a change in structure, depending on what you as a government decide, and may take on local government or borough structures as you see fit, is in many respects our domain. It's our area of most knowledge. We have very strong expertise and skill set in working with central government to look at how to decentralise and how to create strong local government that ensures the kind of grassroots development that I was describing a few moments ago, but also ensures appropriate coordination across villages. So we create a structure that nurtures at village level, but also creates a connectivity across villages so that we can build prosperity across entire regions. Again, this is something that we believe over the years we've seen work well, but we've also seen initiatives that haven't worked well. Looking at what hasn't worked well, I think, is also important in learning from it. And we bring that knowledge base to our work and in working with governments to our clients. As well as offering some support around decentralization, we can also offer a lot of support in thinking about how healthcare systems, education systems, local economic development and agricultural support and development can be nurtured in a way that again ensures that there's good partnership between government and citizens, and in a way obviously that where appropriate brings in NGOs to support that process. And one of the things that I think is my understanding from working in Lake State hugely important is getting the balance. Getting the balance between ensuring that self-determination and independence are at the heart of the move forward, but at the same time ensuring that there's sufficient confidence in that agenda, in the building of a powerful state from outside investors, so that the inward investment doesn't come at the price of independence or self-determination. It doesn't come at the price of moving in a direction that is not truly the direction that South Sudan itself wants to take. But also on balance, that self-determination doesn't cost inward investment. In other words, doesn't create the loss of it. I believe that balance can be struck. And the reason I believe that is because I know that throughout the world, in every continent and in every country, asset-based and strength-based community development is becoming something as an approach that people believe in, that agencies, governments, and indeed investors have confidence in. And the reason they have confidence is because it has over 40 years worth of evidence base behind it. We can point to examples all over the world of our work and how our work has created more sustainable local government, central government, and more sustainable healthcare, education, and other forms of services and systems. That kind of evidence gives confidence to investors, and indeed it gives confidence to citizens and government. That's the kind of confidence that a country starting towards independence and self-determination, I believe, can use and benefit from. In countries around the world where we work, often we're brought in to repair mistakes made. There's a tremendous opportunity here as we go towards the referendum in 2011, not to repair mistakes made, but to start out with a vision that transforms everything from the beginning.